goes on. Some of the best soul food you ever taste in the Mid-South. It is Shop and Save. 1499 South 3rd. Call them again at 901-946-4303.
How's the YouTube
Been in
chat?
business since 1991.
We go to
Shop
the
and
frame.
Save. 1499 South 3rd. 901-946-4303 for some of the best soul food you'll ever taste.
My leg was on the other side of this thing. What is your
But
problem?
Machado and the Padres.
Yeah.
Got that.
All right. Tiger what? Tiger football.
All right, folks, welcome. Welcome to the Eye on Sports with B-Ball Jones, AM 1600, AM 730, YouTube Live, www.theeyeonsports.com. I'm Jay Brenner, co-pilot, sitting to my left, too close for comfort, the man himself, the myth, the legend, the Eye on Sports, Ira Lipsy. Good morning.
What's the proper buffer distance?
I don't know.
I mean, we're not really that much further apart. Usually I'm sitting right here, and usually you're sitting right there.
Let's just explain it to the folks out there. We're now on YouTube Live. So we've
Yeah,
got a great...
WMQM 1600 Memphis. That's what you search on YouTube to find the stream.
I hate to give away the secrets, let people behind the third curtain, or the what is the theater term when you let people behind the curtain or the third wall?
The fourth wall.
Fourth wall. Thank you, Ira. Which is kind of odd to me because there are four walls, but anyway, I guess the stage. Anyway, this is a green screen behind us. If you're watching on YouTube Live, it looks like a beautiful brick wall in a nice modern studio. We're actually in a trailer in Nutbush, and this is a green screen. So for us to both be on the green screen and not be cut off, Ira and I have to be right next to each other, which just changes the dynamic a little bit. But you know what? I'm comfortable with intimacy.
They might as well hold hands.
I mean, first of all, we're not that close. Second of all, we've only known each other for close to 40 years.
No, I'm
so
fine.
It's not that big of a
I'm
deal.
fine with it. It's fine.
No, it's all right. Next time I'll just won't be on screen. I'll just find somewhere else to sit for the show.
Sit in the corner, Ira, next to that filing cabinet.
That's how I feel like you're treating me.
No, you're fine. What do you think's in that filing cabinet?
Secrets. A lot of secrets.
Yeah.
Secrets of the Kennedy assassination, Jimmy Hoffa's body location.
Hey, I'll tell you what, nobody would ever find it.
That's what I'm saying.
That would be the place. Ira, big show today.
Bigger than what you can possibly imagine. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about: Tiger basketball, Tiger football.
Yep, nice little story in the news about Tiger football. We'll get into that.
Major League Baseball news.
Big signing, big free agent signing.
And I want to ask you guys about a story that's all over the news that I'm just like completely baffled or dumbfounded, whatever, bamboozled. I don't even know what the proper term would be for it.
Flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted would work perfectly in this case. So we got plenty of that to talk about. Jay, let's
Yeah,
go.
where would you like- where would you like
I
to
want to
start?
start with this Tiger football article that you claim to have seen.
Yeah, it's pretty big. This is the courtesy of the Daily Memphian. The Tiger football program, the university has received a second permit. They filed a second construction permit for the indoor facility for Phase 2 to be started when Phase 1 completes. Phase 2 is the actual indoor turf football field. This has been 27 years in the making
Yeah, for real.
that they've been talking about this. The permits have been filed, the contractors have been chosen, and as soon as they finish Phase 1, they will start Phase 2. The next step is to, I think, start Phase 1.
What's phase one?
Phase 1 is the lounge and a renovation of the coaches' areas. Basically a renovation of the indoor, like, offices, lounge, locker. I think the locker room may be actually not getting it. So, some of the meeting areas, etc.
Of the facility that's on the South Campus?
Yeah, the South Campus.
Yeah, I was actually spending a lot of time on South Campus, and I haven't been to the football area, but the baseball area is pretty nice, so I'm sure they're going to do a good job, and then I guess they're going to use some of that whatever field area where they have the outdoor practice facility to put the
Yeah, they're just going to take one of the.
Yeah, I think there's at least a couple fields.
Yeah, there's a turf field, a couple grass fields.
All right, well, that's good news.
You know, going back several years, this team, when it would rain really hard, would have to go practice at a high school because they didn't even have a turf field. So they got a turf field.
Yeah.
They renovated the locker rooms. They did some things when Fuente was first here, but they've long promised this indoor facility that a lot of programs have. So now they're going for it.
And the difference is noticeable on the field. They're able to practice outside during the rain and the elements.
Yeah.
And the product is improved on the field.
Is that sarcasm?
Not at all. What do you mean?
They were a pretty lousy rain team this year.
No, but they were pretty lousy. You know, before Fuente got here, they were just pretty lousy.
Well, that's true.
So
Yeah, $8.8 million building permit for construction of the facility. Turner Construction Company. Ira, are you familiar with them? I thought they made ice cream.
they do make dairy products, but there's also Turner Construction. It's an offshoot. That's what, you know, when you get into the business like building dairies and cranking out milk and ice cream, you start to learn how to build stuff. So you build dairies, and then you build shipping facilities, and then you get into indoor football practice facilities.
Fundraising began on this project.
It's a natural progression.
Agreed.
Okay.
Fundraising began on this project, Ira, in 2011.
In 1948, probably.
Yep. Groundbreaking was in April 2017. And the first phase has begun. That begun last summer. Renovations to the Spook Murphy Athletic Complex. Ira, where do you come down on Spook Murphy? Yay or nay on him?
Spook Murphy is one of the all-time Tiger greats. Period.
Tell us about Spook Murphy. Give us the...
Billy J. Spook Murphy was one of the early coaches. Not early coaches. He was a coach, like, I think, in the 50s and 60s. And he was one of the top coaches. Legendary games. I wish my dad could call in. He's out of town. But I wish he'd call in and tell us about some of the great Spook Murphy games. You know, they played Ole Miss to a 0-0 draw, and Ole Miss was like top 5 in the country. And the game they beat Mississippi State. There's a lot of, and they had some good teams. You know, unfortunately, if you look back and the good teams of Tiger, like going back to the 50s and 60s, there was only like 7 bowl games. 8 bowl games. There wasn't, 52 bowl games. So you had to be in the top 10 to 15 to go into bowl games. So that's why it wasn't. Tigers didn't have a history of going to the bowls back then, because you basically had to be either in the Orange Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Sun Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl,
or the Belk Bowl in Charlotte.
Yeah, or the Belk.
Who will forget the historic Belk Bowl?
Do you know what Belk is?
It's a company. Ira,
let me tell you something. To drop knowledge like that, with immediate response is pretty impressive.
Belk is an American department store chain founded in 1888 by William Henry Belk in Monroe, North Carolina. Ira, the 1963 Memphis State Tigers went 9-0-1.
Yep.
And finished the year 14th in the coaches poll.
Yep.
Do you know what bowl game they played in that year?
Yes. I really did used to know this. The Tangerine Bowl, maybe?
They played in the Camping World Bowl in Orlando, Florida.
No, they did not.
They played in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl.
No,
I have no idea.
Okay.
The Serve Pro First Responder Bowl.
Oh my God, that's a real bowl?
That's real.
Where is that?
That's in Dallas, Texas.
The First Responders Bowl?
Correct. Serve Pro. They're the sponsor.
I always wanted. You know what company Bemis is? BEMIS.
Negative.
I'm sure you've seen their stuff around. They usually make toilets.
Oh.
Like toilet bowls.
Yeah.
So I always wanted that there be a Bemis
bowl.
A Bemis toilet bowl.
Ira, the answer to your question that I asked, so it's really my question. They didn't play in a bowl that year. Spook Murphy played in one bowl. Apparently, his final year, when they finished 5-6, they played in the Pasadena Bowl.
Yeah, the Pasadena Bowl was actually played in the Rose Bowl parking lot. It was a touch football game because they couldn't use the Rose Bowl field because there was actually a Rose Bowl going on. So they played in the Pasadena golf course, which abuts to the Rose Bowl, which they actually use for parking and tailgating for UCLA games, because that's where we were told we should park when we went to the Rose Bowl to see Memphis versus UCLA several years ago.
Spook Murphy was also the athletic director of Memphis State from
indeed.
66 to 81.
He was the original Bo Schembechler, Barry Alvarez, Philip Fulmer.
Which means he was the athletic director that hired Dana Kirk, if my chronology is correct.
Darn tootin'.
And it is. Do you ever read, there was a book, Dana Kirk wrote an autobiography when he was still alive called Simply Amazing. The ego.
I'm sorry, that one seems to escape my grasp.
Right. He wrote it.
Was it a New York Times top 20?
I think after he got out of prison, but he
probably wrote it while he was in prison because you usually have a lot of time.
Maybe, but it was a good book, and he was a good guy. I read the book multiple times.
Really?
Yeah, it was a good. We had it around the house. I don't know why, but it was a good book. It sort of gave you the
read
insight.
Grapes of Wrath?
Steinbeck?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think so.
I've read Dana Kirk's autobiography several times, but literature.
Hey, let me tell you, well, that's literature. It's words on a page.
It's not literature, but okay.
How many times have you read Grapes of Wrath?
At least once.
At least.
Maybe twice.
How many at most?
3 times a lady.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there you have that.
That's
That's my Tiger football story.
All right, let's go to Tiger basketball.
You enjoyed me. Yeah, Tiger basketball.
Watch.
Penny Watch.
2018. Tonight, the Tigers will be playing at home at the FedEx Forum against the Tulane and the Brain Green Wave.
Losers of, I believe, 14 in a row.
Tigers were 18.5-point favorites. I think it's gone down to like 17. 17 and a half.
Let's check that.
You know, the Tulane is really dreadful.
They're having a bad year.
They're having a bad year. You know, if I was a D1 prospect that was not going to go to one of the top, 20 or 30 schools, Tulane would be a place I would certainly look at more closely than probably what it gets credit for.
Tulane is a 17.5-point underdog in Memphis tonight. And,
wouldn't you want to be in New Orleans and go into Tulane and all that fun?
I guess. I mean, the thing about being a college athlete, especially if you're in football or men's basketball, you have no time. You wake up at, and this is no joke, you wake up at 5:30 for, film.
Drug test.
Yeah, film. Then you're at study hall by 7:30. Then you're in class by 8:30. 9, you got class all day, then you're back to practice, then you got study hall again. I mean, you have no free time. You're not going out in New Orleans, maybe in the off season for like a month, but they've choked the off season out of these kids now.
Yeah. No, that stinks.
It's a tough deal. I watched it.
That's part of
I've seen it, Ira. I've been there.
You were there. You were on the front lines.
That's right.
Division I ping pong player Jay B-Ball Jones Brenner.
Ira, I was looking for this. I want to get this statistic right about Tulane's current streak. So I'm looking to find that.
I can tell you that.
Yeah, here we go. I got it. And
they've lost 14 in a row.
They've lost 14 games in a row.
They're 4-20. I mean, they're 4-20 on the season.
Yeah. You going tonight?
Jay, there is supposed to be a Tiger baseball game today at 3 o'clock.
No.
Weather permitting, and the rain has stopped, and it's supposed to be gone all day, and the sun may actually come out. So I would say there's a good chance they're going to play today. That game's supposed to start at 3 o'clock at FedEx Park. So if that game does go off, then I will not be going. I'm not going to rush immediately, try and rush from the field to get down to the FedEx Forum to go to the game. So I probably will not be at the game today.
Who are they playing? Who are the Tiger baseball
The Tiger baseball players are going to be
mixing it up
with the Murray State Racers.
Ah.
Yeah, should be an interesting non-conference tilt. And then, of course, this weekend, weather permitting, there's a 3-game set with the alma mater of Tiger play-by-play announcer Dave Woloshin, the Southern Illinois Salukis.
Big one. I'm sure that's getting a lot of discussion over at our sister station.
You remember a few years ago when Southern Illinois had a really good basketball team, And they were like in the Sweet. They were in the Sweet 16. I can tell you that. I'll tell you what year they were in the Sweet 16. 2007. Because I have a Sweet 16 T-shirt. Because Memphis was in it.
Yeah.
And it's like the number 1 and the number 6, and then inside the numbers are like snippets of each team's like picture, like the logo. Yeah, and I remember Southern Illinois was in that. And they had that coach, young black coach, Chris something or other, and they were, there was a lot of talk about the Missouri Valley was, basically like
that was
trying to be what the AAC is right now.
No, the Missouri Valley had some very, very good years.
You had Northern Illinois, you had Southern Illinois, and Illinois State had a good run.
Yeah.
And I think their coach
Squeak Murphy won some Missouri Valley Conference championships.
True. And I think that coach, they were like, there's a lot of talk about whether he was going to go somewhere, and I don't think he did.
Mistake.
And it was a huge mistake, and then they kind of dropped off, and now they're nowhere to be found.
Huge mistake. Ira, Memphis, 15-11, 7-6 in the league.
Yeah.
As we said, big favorites tonight. They will be wearing, Mark, I want to get your take on this. They will be wearing the Memphis State jerseys. Like it or leave it.
Love it. I love a throwback. Why not? I think it's, you're getting back the old days, and this is a good way of doing it. Bringing it back.
What about the Navy with the red Memphis across the front from the Larry Finch days?
The issue with those, my understanding is that the way they were made, the way they were cut, they looked fine, but apparently they were too heavy. Whatever material they used, the players hated them, so they only wore them once.
Okay.
That was the deal with those.
Do you like the throwback, Jared?
I love those Memphis State throwbacks. They're incredible. Those are the best throwbacks I've ever seen. Probably because it hits me right in the heart, right in the sweet spot, because right in the keister. Because those Memphis State teams, those late 80s that wore that specific style, those really look exactly like 89, right around the time Penny came to the team. So that was the era that I loved the most. I mean, that was when I was hitting my stride, 13, 14 years old, going to all the games, every single game. So I love them, and I'm glad they're wearing them. Tonight, down at FedEx Forum, Coach Penny Hardaway says, according to the Daily Memphian, that they don't have the right, they being Memphis, to overlook anyone. Quote, anybody can get hot on any given night. Of course, you like that attitude. And we'll see what happens. Hardaway says he's still preaching to try to get that top four seed in the conference tournament.
Oh, that'd be great.
A few games behind them. He said it'd be great, but then, that first day nobody goes because whatever. But, your first game, you run the risk of getting bounced in the first game. I like the warm-up game, but
I was going to say, it's true. This team could probably use the warm-up game to get some momentum going.
I like, hey, why not run out there on Thursday night or whatever night it is and go play Tulane in the 5-12 game.
Everybody's going to wear their socks up to their knees in that game.
But we'll see. Why?
Just why not?
Good call.
Old school.
Good call. We got a little more we could get into with that. We got a lot of other stories. We still got Ira's story about.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that right after the break.
The one you talked about?
It's going to be a story that I've just been baffled with.
Okay. The baffle story. Oh, the bamboozle.
The bamboozling. Y'all may be bamboozled just as much as I am on it, but I'll bring it up anyway.
That and much more right after a few words from our local sponsors.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. I have been told one of the worst things people have to do is find a contractor for a home improvement project. And I get it. Everyone claims they're the best. Everyone claims their service is the best. Everyone claims their warranties are the best. And everyone claims there's no reason to look any further than right here. Well, that just isn't true. Everyone should always talk to several contractors. Everyone should verify what they're being told, and no one should ever be pressured into making a decision before they're ready. Five-Ash Roofing, best products, best warranties, and the attention to detail you deserve, but don't take my word for it. Verify it for yourself. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. The official roofer of the University of Memphis, and now a proud member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. That's 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
1499 South 3rd, 901-946-4303. serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And some of the items on their menu consist of catfish, spaghetti, chicken and dressing, turkey wings, meatloaf, fried chicken, cabbage, yam, greens, salmon croquette, and the list goes on. Some of the best soul food you ever taste in the Mid-South, it is Shop and Save. 1499 South 3rd. Call them again at 901-946-4303. Been in business since 1991. Shop and Save. 1499 South 3rd. 901-946-4303 for some of the best soul food
Is there a way
you'll
to
ever
change
taste.
that?
I have an eye on sports.
Hey everybody, the Ion Sports here to tell you about Advatech.
It says Ion
Advatech
Sports
is
in
a
the
local
corner,
IT
but at the
company
bottom,
that manages your business's computer network and technology. They make sure your network is secure to prevent any type of security breach which could possibly compromise your company's information or your customers' information. Advatech is a one-stop shop for any computer problems. No need to waste valuable time on calling tech support. One call, they will handle everything for you. Advatech can also help you save on average $500 a month on your office phones and internet costs by doing a vendor cost analysis for their customers. If you own a business and are tired of frustrating computer issues, call Advatech. Advatech, we are your IT department. Call 901-262-7925 or email support at advatech.com. ADVATEK, Advatech, 262-7925.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Ion Sports with B-Ball Jones here at AM 1600, AM 730. We're blanketing the AM airwaves here in Memphis and YouTube Live, WMQM 1600 AM Memphis. That'll get you there. You can watch all the action here in the studio. You can watch Ira get frustrated with his microphone or his headphones because they're not working, which I fully understand that frustration. You can find replays of the show, www.theionsports.com.
You got that right, partner.
Yeah, we're rebranding just like the Rice-A-Roni people.
Yeah, those Rice-A-Roni people, they're so finicky.
They're changing their image.
Yeah, they are. Well, I don't blame them. I mean, really, when you think of a San Francisco treat, you really think of Rice-A-Roni-ish type stuff.
You got to go to Miami.
Yeah. Anyway, Jay. Anyways, I mentioned on the outset that there was a story that I'm just completely befuddled, bamboozled. There's just too many adjectives to describe my feelings toward the whole story. And hopefully, you guys who are more on the cusp of pop culture, whatever stuff that's relevant, maybe you can help me out. Who or what is this Jussie Smollett situation?
Let me jump in there first.
Let me just say quickly what I know. There was a guy, I don't know who he is or what he's famous for, and he allegedly got beaten up for being homosexual, maybe. I don't know if that's what
you're way behind on the story.
And then it turns out that he may have paid people to do it and stage the whole thing. Where am I?
No, that's basically right. So,
oh, really?
Let me tell you where I knew Smollett from just before we get into it. On Friday Night Lights, his sister, Journey Smollett, was on the show. She was great. So that's where I'd sort of heard of him.
Okay. What was her role?
She was, in the final couple of seasons, she was the love interest of Vince Howard, Michael B. Jordan, and she was an aspiring female football coach.
Michael B. was in Friday Night Lights?
Oh, yeah, the final 2 seasons.
Really? I'm going to have to IMDb this bad boy.
Yeah. So, but on to Jussie Smollett, not Jesse, Jussie. The story
short for something?
I have no idea. The story came out a few weeks ago. I read up on this. Like you, the first couple days I was just like, okay, I don't know. I guess he was a victim of a hate crime by MAGA-wearing Trump supporters. And I have to tell you that I'm skeptical of those stories when I hear them because on either side, any kind of political motivated act that you hear about after the fact, I always wonder if it's kind of a false flag attack to make your opponents look bad, right?
Right.
I just always wonder that. And this one, and I wasn't really paying attention, but going back and looking at the details, it was especially sort of like almost too perfect for it to be real. The allegation was that he was beat up, bleach poured on him, a noose hung around his neck, and he was left there, beat up with a noose hung around his neck with bleach poured on him by a couple of people chanting, "This is MAGA country," wearing red Trump hats, right? So that was the story. And after the story came out, news stations ran with it. Every contender for the Democratic presidential nomination tweeted their support. Yeah, we're right here.
Don't touch me.
Right next. Oh, it's fine to be close, but if I graze your arm. Anyway,
I don't care if you touch me.
every contender for the Democratic presidential nomination tweeted their support. This is not who we are. This is what's happening to our country, et cetera, et cetera. Well, shortly thereafter, it began to leak from the police department up in Chicago that the story was falling apart a little bit. And shortly after that, 2 acquaintances of Jussie were arrested for being a part of the attack. They were Nigerian Americans, and they knew him. They worked out with him, and they were part of the show that he's on, which is, what show is he on? He's on a show. It's a big show.
I've never heard of him. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. He's on some big. He's big.
It's a reality show or it's a real TV show?
No. He's on. I'll find it.
No. I saw this. I saw because the 2 Nigerian guys.
Empire. He's on Empire. Right. The Nigerian guys were part of the
Empire.
cast of Empire.
Well, wait. Let me ask
Okay,
this.
so well, I'm not done, but go ahead.
The attacks. Okay, the alleged attacks were allegedly motivated because he was black, or it's because he's homosexual?
Both.
Okay.
Young, black, homosexual.
Okay,
right.
okay.
Racist, homophobic.
Okay.
Right. Good question.
Terrible. All right.
Yeah, it would have been terrible.
Yeah, seriously.
Were it true.
And who does that end up hurting in the long run? African Americans, homosexuals.
Who does what end up hurting?
I'm saying the fact that it's fake.
Well, let's keep going because
Sorry, go
because by the way, just like I don't believe the original story without questioning it,
right?
I don't necessarily believe that it's totally fake without getting all the details.
That's true.
My take on fake news is that fake news comes from all sides. Comes from
absolutely.
the right, comes from the left, comes from the middle. Fake news is everywhere. There's real news too.
Yeah.
I just, the whole thing, and I'll say the right wants to blame the left. Like, they created this, like, they just report, you get these reports that's coming out. They never said this is happening, and all the candidates back them. You don't know it's false, and then it becomes false, and they change their tune.
Let's come back to that.
Yeah,
That's a decent point, but let me just finish so the 2 guys are arrested, and then it comes out they're actually cooperating, and there was maybe some evidence. And again, this is just reports. I don't know exactly what's true, that he paid them to stage the attack. Now, you get into, okay, who's to blame? Look, I'll say this. It's the responsibility of journalists and to some extent politicians to proceed with caution about this stuff.
Yeah, but you can't sell papers that way.
To me, this doesn't pass the smell test. It just doesn't. So you've really got to slow down before. Journalists can say alleged. You can just say, look, this is an alleged attack. We'll see what happens. You can report it. That's fine. I agree with you on that.
Right.
On that limited point, but when politicians try to make hay about it and then try to connect it, this is what's happening to our country. That's the problem that I have because it's so clear. And then the real question is, because it's so obviously being used, you think Joe Biden really, not that he doesn't care, but take the time to slow down and maybe wait 2 days and see if it's real before you try to make political hay out of it.
But then let's say it's real and you don't say anything. Then why did this guy wait 2 days?
There's plenty of time to say something about an actor. This isn't like Barack Obama was dragged out into the streets. It's some actor that nobody had ever heard of before, and it's questionable on its face. On its face, it's questionable. So slow down before you, and it depends on what you say. You could come out and say, look, if this is true, it's absolutely horrible. And by the way, some of what you saw you see a media report or a tweet that said, if true, this is terrible. Then you had politicians, Ocasio-Cortez came out and said, criticize them for saying if true. Like, you've got to just assume it's true. Believe all victims. There's this thing like, if you even question it, you're part of the problem. There's a whole wave of reports on that. So
Right.
my issue and my question that I don't understand, I understand, I think, what the news and the politics are doing with this. What I don't understand is, why would he do this?
Yeah, spending so much time and effort to like.
That's what I don't understand, but I did read an article theorizing about it.
Okay. Well,
And before I get to that, Ira, it sounds like you want to.
no. Give me the theory, but
The theory,
quickly.
and this is from the right, but the theory is that we're such a victim culture now
True.
that's where you get your power and your currency from, by being a victim. And he's so invested in being a victim.
Okay. I mean, there may be a little bit of truth to that, but it doesn't. The truth is when you're.
Why else would he do it?
But here's the thing. No. I'll get to that. What I was going to say is, if there is some truth to that, but the truth is, in the long run, it doesn't necessarily pay off. For instance, like Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, in the long run of his struggle and his plight, he's not back in the NFL. Yes, he did settle his lawsuit, but in the long run, yes, he made a difference with his kneeling and his stance or whatever, and he brought attention to it. But what's the end game? Now, this whole Smollett situation, you guys are talking about it from a political standpoint. I'm just looking at it purely as a standpoint of who he hurts if it turns out the whole thing is fake. He hurts the plight, like the long game. He hurts the plight of African Americans and racism and whatever on the streets, and he hurts the plight of homosexuals that are being attacked like for real on the street because they're homosexual. I mean, that's the type of thing that what I don't understand is, in this day and age, everybody finds out everything. How can he sit there and come up with this plan?
That's what I just don't understand, how you could be that dumb. But let me just jump in and say,
the hard part.
Let me jump in and say one thing, because he's obviously not unintelligent. But that's why I almost don't even believe it. I want to see all the facts before I get that he's totally staged this thing, because I don't necessarily buy, because the right is certainly eager to capitalize on this.
Right.
To Mark's point, and blame everybody and blame the media and blame everybody involved. But let's wait until we really know everything. But I will say, I don't think it's fair to compare Colin Kaepernick to Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett could go to jail for this. What he did is illegal, if he did it, filing a false report. Colin Kaepernick exercised his First Amendment freedom of expression to take a knee, to bring awareness to the cause of criminal justice inequality. Now, the NFL, we've been over this and over this. They have the right, as far as I'm concerned, to not hire him.
Right.
And Nike has the right to pay him $100 million to be their spokesperson. To me, that whole situation is perfect. He can do whatever he wants. The NFL can do whatever they want. And Nike can do whatever they want. And God bless Colin Kaepernick. That is totally different than what this man is accused of doing, Smollett, which is lying to authorities about, potentially a pretty serious situation.
No, yeah, no. I guess I probably should not have used Colin Kaepernick. My whole thing is that if you don't want to, the shelf life of what Colin Kaepernick's message and meaning had a very short shelf life. Like, for instance, we're talking about Kaepernick now that he settled his lawsuit. Okay, he settled whatever lawsuit with the NFL, the collusion or whatever. His whole jump into this limelight with the protest is not on the back burner. You're saying that's still to the forefront?
Yeah, no, I think I disagree with you, and I never thought I'd be in a position of defending Colin Kaepernick, but that was like 3 years ago. That was before the presidential election.
That's what I'm saying.
And people still talk about it.
It wasn't a big deal until we know who made it.
Right, no, that's exactly right. So what he did in effect, and again, I can't believe I'm defending Colin Kaepernick.
We'll refer to him as Voldemort.
Well, I'll refer to him as the president, but...
What the hell is Voldemort?
That's Lord of the Rings.
No, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Oh my God! Hey, Dork, don't be bringing that up.
Is there a difference between Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings?
No, it's the same thing. What, Harry Potter was not in Lord of the Rings?
Doesn't matter. The point is you're right. But what Colin Kaepernick did is he drew the president. Trump came into it, but and I'll defend Trump on a lot of things. I won't defend him on this. I didn't think he handled it well.
True.
He just spun it in the way he wanted to spin it. And
I mean, he tried to use it for political.
Ixnay my entire Kaepernick thing. The point I was trying to make with the whole thing is that when you are in a situation in this day and age when you have 24-hour-a-day media and your shelf life of what happened to you or what your story is so short. No matter how big the story is, the shelf life is pretty short. So in order to, if it's true that he faked the whole situation, not only is the shelf life of a situation like this that may actually occur to someone going to be even shorter, it just completely detracts from the seriousness of the situation. That's kind of what I was getting at. So,
I got you.
Anyway, whatever.
No, I'm
but it was funny because we're talking about fake news and something that people are getting all worked up about. I just happened to pop on my favorite website, the Daily Mail, British tabloid.
Yeah.
Resurfaced 1971 Playboy interview of John Wayne in which he makes homophobic and racist remarks, sparks controversy on social media. Okay, let me say this. Resurface, it doesn't resurface. They're on print. They're out there. I mean,
what year?
1971. My dad's got all the Playboys from 1971.
Some guy was looking at the vintage Playboy.
Right, and then they read an article, they read an interview with John Wayne, and he makes homophobic and racist remarks.
Guess what? Nixon was a racist who hated Jews. I mean,
right.
What old white man in 1971 wasn't?
Right, and then what's the controversy? John Wayne is dead. He's been dead. What controversy? He's not like out there today. He's not an opinion maker of today. We're going to protest watching True Grit, the original, because John Wayne was racist and homophobic.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Manufactured news. It's not fake news. That's real. No, it's just manufactured.
As Yakov Smirnoff once said.
What a country.
What a country. I love it. America.
Holy cow. Ira, Manny Machado.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Tell us about Manny Machado, Guru.
Hey, quickly, before we do that, since it is baseball-related, quick update from the files of Memphis baseball. The game will be at 4, not 3 today.
Good to hear. Good
for them, not good for me, because it means no basketball game.
This is a really good signing for the Padres. You look at their team.
Tell us about their team.
What was that?
Tell us about their team.
So they signed Ian Kinsler. They have Eric Hosmer, Will Myers. They have some good young pieces. They actually have one of the top 5 farm systems. Their pitching is pretty brutal this year. This is more of a move. I think the Padres can be contention in the next 2 or 3 years.
Do they still have Trevor Hoffman?
They do not have Trevor Hoffman.
Who's he play for now?
The good old I'm on the beach retired.
Oh, I knew that.
Austin Hedges, their catcher. Their pitching is kind of a mess, but I was reading about some of their prospects, and they have some really good prospects coming up next year or two. So I feel like for the Padres, this is a way of them making a splash now, with hope and returns of making the playoffs in the next couple of years. So, you hope the Dodgers, all their money, some of their guys fall off in 2 or 3 years, and the Padres have a young core that, they're just kind of missing that franchise guy to.
Well, now they got him.
But now they got him, and old Fernando Tatis, his son, Fernando Tatis Jr., one of the top prospects in the majors coming up.
What is Tatis?
I love Tatis.
What is Tatis most well known for?
2 grand slams in 1 inning.
Look at this guy. This is why we paid him the big bucks.
Manny Machado, 10 years, $300 million.
Oh my God!
Biggest contract of all time.
Between you and Mark.
What?
You just did the Austin Powers Pinky million.
Yeah. The finalists for the Yankees, Phillies, White Sox, Angels, Cubs, and Dodgers.
The Cubs weren't really in it.
Number 2 biggest free agent contract of all time, Ira, without looking.
What's the number 2 biggest free agent?
Yeah, Machado's number 1.
Machado, that's the number 1?
$30
million a year?
All time, $30 million.
No, that's not the biggest.
I know. I'll give it.
I'll go with Clayton Kershaw. A-Rod.
A-Rod is correct. 10 years, $275 million.
But Kershaw makes like $32.5 million a year.
Okay, Ira. Well, I'm reading this from SB Nation. So
no, I'm just asking. I'm really asking Mark the question. Of,
it's the sourced material. Number 3 biggest free agent contract of all time?
Oh my
It's not Clayton Kershaw.
Pujols.
I was a little light yesterday. Not Pujols.
Alfonso Soriano.
Time out. It is Pujols is tied in this category. I take that back. You're absolutely right.
Poodles?
Pujols tied with Cano.
Robbie Cano. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
Not worth that much.
Now, here, while we're in this article, okay, we also have the three biggest in sports contract extensions, but we'll come back to that.
Oh, extensions. Okay.
We like extensions. And the three weirdest, this is a little subjective, weirdest contract clauses of all time.
Dan Quisenberry.
What?
Well, you know that when the Royals were owned by Avram Fogelman of Memphis, and Fogelman's a big real estate guy, so a bunch of these guys that were on that team, Quisenberry, I think Willie Wilson, I don't know about
George Brett.
I don't know about George Brett, but some of the other guys
Climbed on the griff.
He wasn't
on that team. I don't know how many of the other guys. A lot of them's contracts were backloaded with like real estate stocks, like investments in real estate. So instead of getting like, $4 million, whatever it was, I mean, a lot of money back then was over $1 million a year, but instead of getting like $1 million a year, they would get, $750 a year, and then it was backloaded after they retired to make a bunch of money off these real estate deals.
Yeah, that wasn't one of them, though.
Well, I didn't think it would be, but
Raleigh Fingers in 1973 had a mustache addendum. The rider built into his contract came after he won an in-club mustache competition. It declared that for the duration of his one-year deal, he would be supplied with, quote, the finest mustache wax money could buy. No word on if his contract included an addendum to buy the same back cream that Mark bought from the acupuncturist.
Well played.
I'm trying to drink here. What are you doing to me? Back cream.
Do you still have the back cream, Mark?
Of course I had it.
Yeah, bring it in.
Bring it in tomorrow. We need to talk about this.
We need to show it on.
I gotta find it, but
In fact, we might give it away to the ninth caller.
I need it.
You don't need that back cream.
An autographed bottle of back cream from the True Guru.
Well, I like the idea. We'll get third caller of the day.
Third caller of the week, maybe.
Yeah.
We've had no callers. We don't give out the number, though.
Hey, 452-3094.
Yeah, we'll take your calls.
Call us. We got a bevy of people watching on YouTube Live. Folks, we will be right back after this. You're listening to the Eye on Sports with B-Ball Jones.
What's the bevy? We over 3? No.
Yes. You got it.
You don't have to leave, do you?
Here again, we're Just Cooling, called Just Cooling with Victor Richard. For all your heating and air needs. They specialize in residential and commercial. For a complete listing of all the services that they provide, contact them at www.justoncooling.com. Again, www.justoncooling.com. They're licensed, bonded, and insured for over 18 years. Give them a call, 901-848-1772. You want to be cool? You know I do. Give them a call, 901-848-1772.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. I have been told one of the worst things people have to do is find a contractor for a home improvement project. And I get it. Everyone claims they're the best. Everyone claims their service is the best. Everyone claims their warranties are the best. And everyone claims there's no reason to look any further than right here. Well, that just isn't true. Everyone should always talk to several contractors. Everyone should verify what they're being told, and no one should ever be pressured into making a decision before they're ready. Five-Ash Roofing, best products, best warranties, and the attention to detail you deserve, but don't take my word for it. Verify it for yourself. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. The official roofer of the University of Memphis, and now a proud member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. That's 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Hey everybody, the Ion Sports here to tell you about
I can't
Advatech.
believe it.
Advatech is a local IT
Chloe and
company
Tristan are
that
splitting
manages
for
your
real.
business's computer network and technology. They make sure your network is secure to prevent any type of security breach which could possibly compromise your company's information or your customers' information. Advatech is a one-stop shop for any computer problems. No need to waste valuable time on calling tech support. One call, they will handle everything for you. Advatech can also help you save on average $500 a month on your office phones and internet costs by doing a vendor cost analysis for their customers. If you own a business and are tired of frustrating computer issues, call Advatech. Advatech, we are your IT department. Call 901-262-7925 or email support at advatech.com. ADVATEK, Advatech, 262-7925.
Please. That's not exactly Jerry Stackhouse against, Vince Carter against some other big names.
Yeah. I think there's a new Motley Crue, like not docudrama, but like a series, a docu-series. But I think it's like they got an actress, so I don't know what you call that. Based on Motley Crue's rise to fame, that's coming out. I think it's on Netflix. I think it just came out. Anyway, welcome back to the Ion Sports with me. Welcome back. Jay, retro news. Quickly, I just want to throw this in here. And 4523094, that's the number. If you want to win a semi-used jar of Bad Cream autographed by the True Guru, be the first caller to tell us, you ready for this? 1987, this date, Konami releases Contra. If you're the first caller to give us the Contra cheat code, you'll win a half-used jar of autographed Bat Cream from the True Guru. Okay, 4523094, that's the number.
Tell me the question again.
What's the Contra cheat code? Do you know it?
No.
And when in Nintendo, when you played Contra, there was a cheat code that you could get 30 men.
There's the music.
Nice. Good job, Mark. That was a really fun game. No matter how many times you could win it, it was still worth playing.
Can I win my own Bat Cream?
No.
You know the code?
Of course.
All right.
How many years has it been since you played Contra?
You'd be surprised. Probably like a year or two.
Oh, I am surprised.
Ira, the other odd. Well, there were two other odd contract addendums.
Yeah.
Soccer player Stefan Schwartz, shout out Stefan Utevsky, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Soccer player Stefan Schwartz was well known for his love of outer space, and Sunderland. You know Sunderland, Ira?
Sunderland, yes, I do know Sunderland. They're in northeast England.
Yep.
Just near Newcastle. They're big rivals, Newcastle.
Well, they knew he was in love with outer space, so they added an addendum to his contract saying he must remain on Earth.
I thought it was if Space Force got going that he could join it.
What?
Space Force, it's happening now.
Yeah, no, he can't. No, that's the thing. He can't.
How old is this? How old is that story?
Well, the story is.
I mean,
one day
no.
2002.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not. He's not. I mean, he's no one I ever heard of. So.
And the third one, Roy Oswalt.
Yeah, Roy Oswalt. He was not allowed to. I don't know what.
In 2005, his dream forever, I guess, was to own a bulldozer. So in 2005, Drayton McClain, the owner of the Astros, drew up an agreement that if he being Oswalt, won Game 6 of the NLCS, he would get a bulldozer.
Is that the game they threw the no-hitter?
He won the game. I don't know if he threw a no-hitter.
No, that was when he played for Philly, right?
I think you're right.
Mark, didn't he have a perfect game in the playoffs for Philly?
Was that him
or was that Holiday?
That was Holiday. By the way, did y'all read this article
I don't read.
On Tim Donahue.
Except Grapes of Wrath. No, I saw it. I didn't read it.
Yes, I did read that article about Tim Donahue.
Unbelievable.
What did it say?
It's pretty unbelievable.
I'll let you take it, Ira. I mean, it's just there's so much that goes on.
I didn't read the total detail, but in a nutshell, Tim Donahue is the referee that was fired for betting on games that he refereed. Okay,
right.
The NBA did a full investigation, and many people felt like he was fixing the games. Okay, that's what he basically was accused of in the public eye. Okay, no evidence ever suggested that any of the calls he made in these games affected the outcome or the point spread.
By the NBA.
By the NBA, right. What it was, there was a guy that was a degenerate gambler of some sorts, and he knew Donahue, and he said, why don't you just tell me, do you think so-and-so is going to cover the spread? You're doing the Philly-Cleveland game tonight. Washington's a 2.5-point favorite at home. What do you think is going to happen? And so Donahue was giving this guy his picks on the games, and then this guy was betting mob money on the games. Okay? So that's really what
was Donahue getting out of it?
So for every winner that Donahue picked, this is kind of the pathetic part, he would get $2,000.
Yeah, I think they increased it to $5,000.
Right. Per game.
It's not bad for a night's work.
That's not bad, but not really. I mean, is it worth really, risking whatever? I mean, obviously not.
Other people were betting millions of dollars on the game, and that's kind of
millions.
They looked at it as like over the course of a couple of years, like other bettors that were in that kind of industry realized what was going on, and they started betting high on Donahue's games, and like they said, the spread would go from 2 points to 5 points, which is unheard of in the NBA in one day. And so there's all these correlations, and they came out with one thing that in his final season, there's like 40 games they figured out that people bet a lot of money on. 10 were blowouts, so those don't count. But in the 30 close games that they covered 24 times, it was a push 4 times, and he lost 3 times. So that percentage is unheard of in betting.
Oh, totally unheard of.
For people to go 24, like 3 and 4, that's crazy.
So a lot of money was made, but like I said, I mean, that's the thing. He was completely demonized, and a lot of people, like my father, like myself, who believe that a lot of these games are fixed, were out there saying, "See, I told you so."
It's all rigged.
They're rigging it up, and the truth is that maybe, first of all, I still think they are. A lot of them are rigged, but the truth is, maybe Donahue wasn't rigging anything. He was just he knew the game better than anyone. It's like Pete Rose. He was only betting on his own team to win. Allegedly. True. Allegedly. Anyway, I mean, it really is an amazing story. I mean, it certainly doesn't help Donahue today. Did it say what he's doing today, Mark?
Not really. It said he's on the beach somewhere.
He's working at a garden supply store. Like the cop in Sopranos?
You mean Rock?
Yeah.
Charles S. Dutton?
Yeah.
God, that guy had a hell of a career, man.
Now, what's he doing today? What's Donahue doing today?
He said nothing.
Oh, nothing?
It sounds like he's not really doing very much. But I think the whole...
He's got to be doing something.
Donahue was really like, once he heard how much money other people was making, he felt like he got ripped off pretty much. And
I'll tell you what, we can give him a job right here on the Eye on Sports thing. Our NBA consultant.
We got that.
Yeah, come on, thanks.
We got the true guru behind the glass. I wouldn't mind college football consultants or something.
Let's get Donahue on here. We'll have a season-long picks contest between Donahue and the true guru and see who comes out on top.
So
and then we can bet on his picks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Legally in Tunica.
Guru, what do you know about this Zion Williamson guy?
He's decent.
So he dented a basketball with his fingers. Have you seen this?
What?
Yeah, that was during the Louisville game.
Yeah. So there's a picture after the Louisville game. Ira, look at this. Let me pull it up here. He was going for a loose ball against a Louisville guy, and they zoomed in. Look at the ball. His hands are so big that he's got the ball, and it looks like the ball's flat because he's literally like denting it.
That's pretty impressive.
Now, unless Tom Brady's trainer got a hold of this ball before the game, That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying there?
No, it's Deflategate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like Ivan Drago with how many pounds of pressure.
That's right. How many pounds was it? Do you know?
How many pounds of pressure did Ivan Drago come up with? Like 2275 was probably his max.
Yeah.
2,200 pounds of pressure.
Yeah, and then tonight, Duke's playing UNC. Minimum tickets $2,500 just to get in the door, which comes out, with they have what? How many people they have in Camden Indoor?
Is it Cameron Indoor?
Yeah.
Is that where they're playing? I think it holds about 10,000.
So that would be just over $25 million.
No. That's on the secondary market, $2,500. So the actual ticket prices don't change. That doesn't change what Cameron Indoor gets.
Well, the players get nothing.
That's not true.
They get bags and shoes and things.
Yeah, and you also get an education from Duke University. That's right, your ticket money, pal.
Yeah. Duke is Duke.
Hey, they're on TV more than Leave It to Beaver reruns. But don't tell me they don't get Don't tell me they don't get anything.
They don't get anything close to what they deserve.
I don't disagree with that, but that's not nothing. They get. I'll say this. I wouldn't say anything close. They get less than what they deserve. Here's what my biggest problem is. I don't even know why this is now. Of course, this came up, so now I have to say something about it. The biggest problem with the whole compensation thing, Zion Williamson and Barrett and Barish and Karish and whatever those guys' names are for Duke, do they get the same compensation as Joel Leibowitz, Freddie Jackson, and Tom Smith, the three guys on the end of the bench?
Yeah, we've talked about this. So there's different ways to do it. I mean, you could pay a minimum wage, and then you have to be equitable, or you could just deregulate it and say, hey, Zion Williamson,
you're whatever they want.
Well, no, you not the schools. You can't do that really, but you could say you're free to contract with, Perfection Auto Refinish locally. They want to sponsor you. If Lipsy Realty wants to sponsor James Wiseman at Memphis next year, and have him cut some ads for Lipsy Realty, you're free to pay him, $2 million, which is for you nothing.
For me, you're right. That is nothing. I mean, I paid $2 million for my breakfast in the morning.
It's a good deal you're getting there, Ira.
Gold-plated croissants, diamond-encrusted frosted flakes.
Yeah.
That's the music already?
It's 8:59.
We have 1 minute.
How are we going to use this minute, Ira?
Mark, as soon as that minute is over, you got to go do the flip. You know the flip?
I know all about the flip.
Okay, you got to do the flip. How are we going to use this minute? We're going to talk about Venezuela tomorrow. I want to get into some of that stuff. I love what's going on the old V.
Speaking of the rush to judgment, did you see that the Covington high school kid?
Who is this that just texted you? Who is this? Someone said they just texted you the.
What are you talking about?
Someone said they want the prize. They just texted you the thing.
Oh, yeah. This is Sam in Memphis.
Oh, it's
AABB left right right.
Which he didn't call in. All right, we're gonna have to get out of here.
AABB left right. Is that it?
No, that's not right. It's close though. All right, we
gotta go.
Adios, muchachos.
The only guy that listens live anyway that I know of. We probably got to update Facebook and
put some stuff out there.
I can do that.
But you still have your bballjones.com Facebook page?
Yeah, that's still there.
Okay, we'll try and put some stuff out there on that page.
Yeah, I'll try to update it.
Do you have a flash drive? The one I gave you the other day?
I might, yeah.
Oh, and I figured out how to get the
good
thing on the front.
Yeah, you just change it to audio.
Yeah.
And not that I really care. The format that I use all caps. B-Ball Jones won't work. It doesn't matter, but it's fine. It looks good.
How do you get that stuff up?
What's the
Calling all sports. Well, welcome in. Calling all sports with Rockin' and Nooch. Got you covered here on SB Nation Radio alongside Shu and Jose in Houston. We have so much to get to. And Nooch, don't forget Nooch. I am ready to rock and roll with Rock. And Shu and Jose. And Nooch. Yeah. Calling all sports with Rockin' and Nooch. Weekday afternoons at 2 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Calling all sports.
great Dick Vermeil joining us here on Calling All Sports with Rock Minucci.
Hey, you know, I'm going to pass this on to you. I was in France with the Vermeil family, and one of my relatives married into the Minucci family.
Really? Is that right? I love it. Wow. It must have been that Genoa, the Genovese area there on the coast there.
It was.
The Minucci's and Vermeils are connected. I love it. That's great. That is great. How about that?
What just happened?
Vermeils married into the Minucci's family. We got the Vermeils and Minucci's connected, so what are the chances of something like that? I should have been made in the Morocco family. You don't have no ties.
Now you're being jealous.
Yes, I'm totally jealous. He doesn't drink wine. He doesn't like the Eagles. He should have no say.
I drink red wine. That's all I drink.
He drinks out of a freaking box. Yeah, he has no say.
No more box wine.
Calling All Sports with Rock and Minucci. Weekday afternoons at 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation AM.
See, you know why the Yankees aren't going after Bryce Harper? Because the Red Sox don't need Bryce Harper. If the Red Sox even had slightest interest in him, the Yankees would have beat him along.
Well, there we go. They'll just pray for the Yankees to sign him. Say Red Sox, hint that you're going to sign him.
That's how it goes, right? That's how the Yankees and Red Sox have done this forever. So because the Red Sox are like, nah, we're good. They're like, the Yankees are like, yeah, we're good too.
SB Nation AM with Tony D. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. This is Straight Heat.
Don't get excited about your team.
Aim low and hope high.
Yes.
And just, anything above low is great.
Lower your expectation.
Here I am shooting for the stars.
Don't shoot for the stars.
For the first time in
a decade. Stop. Trust me. As a lifelong Minnesota fan, don't expect anything out of your teams. Please, I'm begging you. Lower the expectation, because if you lower the expectation, you won't be disappointed.
Real?
Please, I'm begging you.
Just for once in the last 20 years.
No.
I want to see the Knicks not be a joke.
I'm sorry, it's not going to happen.
For once in my 45 years on this planet, I want to see the Knicks win a title.
Straight Heat with Patrick Creighton. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Radio. This is Over the Night with Matt Harrop.
You know what's fun? If you have 8 beers, but then you also have like a bet on the game, like on the side. That's also really, really fun. And you can bet like an under, because then you're going to be winning the entire time.
How many vices do you have?
All of them. I pretty much have all of them.